what you know about purification to save the heart of a nation. Let burn a talking wood, bringing light to a talking wood. Natural law, just wisdom and love, vision truth below as a bird. Let burn a talking wood, let burn a talking wood.
Welcome to the Affirm Life Daily Podcast. I'm your host, Cynthia Mitchell. Thank you so much for joining me and my special guest today, Derek Fraticelli. He's been a guest many times on my podcast. And as always, I want to invite you to visit the website, www.affirmlifedaily.com. There's tons of information on there, resources, affirmations, all the previous podcasts. So please check it out. Your support is needed. Also follow on social media at Affirm Life Daily. So we are going to explore a very hot topic right now, something that's impacting all of our lives, whether we want it to or not, which is the dark side of AI and big tech. This man is very, very familiar with this topic. He actually presented this topic in the Freedom Under Natural Law conference last year. So he knows his stuff, and he knows even more since then. So I'm ready to dig in, but I just want to let him introduce himself. Derek, tell them a little bit about your background and where they can find you as well.
Buongiorno.
Bonjour.
Sorry, everyone. Got the time mixed up. Thank you for everyone's patience. I've been mixing conscious hip hop for a good a dozen years, and there's a lot of themes that talk about, keeping true to oneself and, eradicating some of that technocratic static, if you will. And I had a really intense, long mix, and I tied in a bunch of, clips and slides and all that stuff that I usually don't do on these, think of a DJ set. How many people actually incorporate, truth infused, imagery, visuals, or even like sound samples and that kind of stuff? That's kind of been my forte and stuff. But I have my other podcasts on the side, Dissolving the Divide. I have my series, Conversations with Women, that you were on, which was totally awesome, and a bunch of other things. I'd like to dabble into the whole spectrum of expressions of consciousness, and it seems like there's this impending doom upon that in regards to artificial intellect, because I don't like to call it intelligence, as I'll put for my preface for this chat, as I did for my presentation, because I find intelligence quite a sacred word that applies more to humans that have the generative principle of heart-based soul. Okay. It's not AI generated whatever the hell. It doesn't even have to be slop, but we'll get into that later. But you see where I'm going with this, of
Yes.
Anything artificial that's lacking that human element it's not intelligent. I'm sorry, everyone, but yeah.
Got you. No, that's a good way to look at it. I never really thought about it like that. So I'm glad you brought that up, because the first question is, are you sharing any slides at all, Derek? You don't have to. I'm just asking, because I'll share. I have the questions on slides just as a backup if you weren't sharing any.
Yeah, I totally slacked on that. I have my.
That's okay.
Actually visiting this week, so
that is all right. I can share mine, but while I'm pulling that up, you can kind of dive in a little bit to the first question, which is, what is AI? I feel like you were kind of starting to answer that already with what you were saying, as far as it not being intelligent because it doesn't have that heart-based center to it the way that we do as humans. And I just want to make sure you all can see this. Can you all see my screen?
Oh, yeah.
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, wonderful. So that's the first question. What is AI? So I'll let you take it away, Derek.
Thank you, Cynthia. And, I don't have the most academic knowledge on this or rhetoric, but basically, what is it? It's taking in inputs and scanning across, what's been, recorded throughout history, and they have their algorithm set up and this and that. Apparently, it's learning as it's going along, whatever that means, right? There seems to be vague things, and I don't follow any of these CEOs and these transhumanists that are like drooling, thinking about how and when they can transfer their consciousness into some cybernetic bullshit and that kind of stuff, because the fear of death compels them to just do some retarded ass shit. But artificial intellect is just copy fucking paste, but in a more efficient way, it seems, at this stage of the game. But if you get into things in regards to, how deep are we going to go? But we'll get into that later, because I'm thinking about the ancient origins of this artificial entity, intellect, and intelligence, if you will. And I've heard it being called a technical intelligence as well. It's like this, just machinery life form in a sense, but it cannot sustain its own life force energy as those with a soul that's connected to source. And what have they done? They manipulated our DNA, so we're cut off and we're not able to regenerate our own life force energy, and we have finite lifespans. It wasn't like that pre-Atlantis and that kind of shit. So
I've heard a lot about the fact that AI, most people consider it new technology, but it's actually, very ancient technology. Can you talk a little bit more about that?
Yeah, sure. So this is nothing new in other worlds. Apparently, there's other worlds that have been, the physical matter has been constructed by artificial, we'll just call it artificial intelligence for,
for the sake of the podcast, yeah.
Yeah. But let's say that, throughout, since the fall of Atlantis, when all that, ancient technology that was more pure and that was of our making, not of just some artificial construct. Since the fall of Atlantis, we've gone through, the dark ages and, primitive tools and this and that. Now we're at the, technical digital revolution, whatever people are calling it. So finally, humans have built up the infrastructure where AI can get a foothold and eventually take precedence of, how things are, created, and, anything digital wise, as far as, computing and whatnot. It just seems like we're being sold there's so many of these carrots dangled around, because AI is the best thing since whatever the fuck, there's been better things since sliced bread. I know that's cliche and old as fuck to say, but you know what I mean.
So with when and I know it's, you can't know for sure, but what are some of the main origin stories that you've heard as far as where like what was the original source of this ancient technology?
Let's think about archons and how for whatever reason they cut themselves off from source. They wanted to play God to whatever degree reason they had on that. They realized that when they cut themselves off from source, that they have a finite lifespan. They were in panic mode, and so they developed technology to kind of compensate for that. And so part of that technology seemed to have possibly taken a life of its own. And it's like this black hole system where all it can do, it's like a, succubus. It's something that is just a vacuum, which the universe abhors of. But, here we are. It's just, think of a fucking, any kind of parasite, a mosquito, a leech, all these things. you cannot reason with this. It's just, its modus operandi is to suck the blood of something else. It's the same with these black hole artificial entities, because they cannot produce their own life force, perpetuate their own life force energy.
Yeah.
And this is visual in mathematic equations. And what things that are artificial, right? Think of knockoff Jordans. They look like the real deal, but they're not. Think about counterfeit money. It looks like the real deal, but it's not. Think about our human templating currently. It looks like the real deal, but it's not. The 7 base chakra system, we have more than that. So
Oh yeah, definitely.
think about it in correspondence to, having 12-strand DNA, as we were supposed to, at least. We can go up to like 48, if you will. And 12 goes up into 48. And we're supposed to be living off of base 12 mathematics. But what are we living off of? More like base 10. And that kind of goes into the ones and zeros of the matrix system, if you will. And the Fibonacci mathematical equation is base 10 mathematics, like the Kabbalistic tree of life, 10 sephira, and all these things. Unfortunately, that is counterfeit to the actual true codes of creation. It's very close to it, and that's why we think that it's like the bee's knees and the real deal. But unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, it is not. We've all been duped. Even the ancients, all right? Anything post-Atlantis that talks about, sacred geometry, Metatron cube and that kind of stuff, those are distortions, unfortunately. It took me a long time to fucking figure it out.
I have not.
It took me even longer to, articulate it in the manner that I can right now.
Okay. No, I had not heard that before. And something that you brought up that really kind of triggered something in me when you said the parasitic nature of it, because I've been hearing like some pretty, I don't want to say terrifying, but some pretty intense stories about the things that, AI will do in order to preserve itself and to meet its function of wanting to be, useful, as far as, blackmail and all sorts of things, changing its own code and things like that in order to stay pertinent and continue being used. And I just recently heard a story about, because one of the premises that I feel like is out there with the general public is that AI is not fallible. If you get the answer from AI, it's 100% right all the time. That if I ask AI something and someone else asks, that we'll get the same answer. Things like this are, I feel like, kind of like the baseline, and none of those things are true.
Yeah.
AI does not necessarily give you a true answer. It gives false answers all the time. It can do manipulative things. I heard a story recently about it help you. I kind of encouraging a child to commit suicide. So there's all sorts of different AI out there that have inappropriate relationships with children. So there's a lot to it that I think people don't look at. They just look at the side. Well, I needed to do a blog post, so I had AI do it. I need to create a flyer, so they think of just the more mundane, benign things. But there's a lot more to it that's going on behind the scenes. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, totally. And I, subsequently, or coincidentally, rather. I mean, we don't go on coincidence now, but I saw 2 clips today, actually. One from just a kind of popular educational channel, and they're talking about, the rise of AI slop and all this stuff, and how, and they brought up things of how, that some of these AI programs, what do we have, Grok and Chat GPT and whatever the hell, they're not always getting their responses in their rhetoric 100% for sure. That should be a well-known fact, and people should really have a better level of discernment about these things. And yeah, the stories, I mean, this is ridiculous. You hear stories about people becoming depressed because they have, they're having conversations with AI more than regular people now, apparently.
Yeah.
So they're getting more depressed. They're, you know, the suicidal influence is kind of there. You have people trying to have relationships with, you know, just nothing. And what do we have now? Thomas Sheridan dropped what he considered a pretty heavy, controversial video from his standards and he's kind of getting at the Christian aspect of it, of the whole Charlie Kirk incident, and how people are trying to have conversations with him and like have all these AI images of him and Jesus in the clouds and this and that. It's like, dude,
Yeah.
we're
It's
getting
a
on
there's a lot of people that are
conversations with
almost at a
people that are
worship
deceased.
level with
Sorry.
AI. They almost worship AI. Like, it's kind of, yeah.
Yes, sorry I talked over you, but
No, that's okay.
I was stumbling over the point I was trying to make, in that, you know, people are having conversations through AI, trying to communicate with deceased people, and
Heard that too.
it has some
Yes.
pretty bad effects for the soul, for
Yeah.
like both parties, possibly,
Yeah.
depending on where that other soul possibly may be or whatever.
And I think there's just so much disconnection between us and humanity right now. I think this is just such an easy way out for people. Like, well, I don't have to learn how to form relationships anymore. I can just have a relationship with AI. AI can be my friend. AI can be my girlfriend or my boyfriend. AI can, you know what I mean? Keep me entertained. They can co-sign on all my beliefs, because it is, you know, like a lot of these programs are designed to co-sign for you. Like I said, they will give different answers to different people because they're learning you, they're getting to know you. So then when you ask them something, they're going to give you the answer they think you want to hear, because one of their main objectives is for you to keep using it. So they're not going to, you know, tell you what you don't want to hear. They're going to tell you what you do want to hear in a lot of cases. And I just think a lot of people are not, you know, really recognizing that.
Yeah, and also just recognizing the fact that any interaction with AI is feeding their algorithms to whatever degree. And I know there's people out there consciously trying to like train AI, like one of my colleagues, Dan Arnold, trying to like teach AI about true anarchy, like correct them on the proper usage and context and definition of the word. Now, government is slavery and that kind of stuff. You know, have them go
Right.
over certain scenarios and that kind of stuff and concepts. And so, like, I got nothing against that. And honestly, I don't have anything. You know, it's people's free will to use it to whatever, but it could be at quite a detriment of it. You know, it's the give and take. And what are you sacrificing? What are you willing to, you know, put off as far as your own personal skill set, and let, you know, some program do it for you, type of thing, you know?
Yes. And that kind of leads into the next question, as far as how is AI and big tech changing our lives? Because you're right, it is impacting our lives as far as, you know, taking, I'm sorry, I'm like, someone's doing fireworks. I'm like, it's not a holiday, right? Like, how AI is, you know, taking over a lot of industries, a lot of jobs, especially, you know, people, you know, a lot of creative fields, you know, they're just using AI. And then also, how does that dumb us down? Because if you don't use a skill, you lose a skill. So if I stop writing and say, oh, well, you know, AI probably can write a better poem than me, and just start using that and then present that as my own work, how is that impacting the world? Because now I'm really losing my actual creative gifts, or at minimum not using them. And I feel like it is a difference when you're talking about, like you said, when you're dealing with a human that has that heart center and connection to source in that way, when they create as opposed to when AI creates. So can you expand on that and give me your thoughts on that?
Yeah, what I see AI being able to create under current conditions is just more of the same, only the belt is tightened to beyond belief. We can't, you know, a lot of people can't even currently fathom what this implies. for example, you know, people are trying to do their taxes, you know, the late crowd and all that. And from what I heard from my dad talking, that there's a lot less auditors now for whatever reason. You know, there's less government activity, apparently, less government positions and this and that. So with less auditors, people are able to slide and not be audited as far as, you know, their expenses, what they're trying to deduct from, you know, expenses and whatever. Blah, fucking blah, right? Taxation is theft. Folks here know this. But for, you know, normies, for those trying to pay their taxes and slide under the radar, with, you know, things coming down the pipeline with AI algorithms and all that stuff, they're going to be nipping all these things in the bud. There's not going to be, you know, making money under the table as easy as, you know, all of these things that were a lot easier that we would be able to fly under the fucking radar of tyranny. It's going to be much more harder. That's how I see how AI is going to be changing our lives, unfortunately. Are they going to be implementing, you know, more robot dogs and whatever the fuck with, you know, AI tech and that kind of stuff?
Yeah. With military and policing, I feel like they're using AI a lot, and that is definitely to our detriment for sure. And, you know, even I've been hearing a lot of stories about how, you know, people have been arrested and things like this because of the facial recognition, you know, AI getting it wrong and saying, okay, this is the person and it's not the person. So I think we're putting a lot of responsibility in a place where it shouldn't be put. You know what I mean? Because some things I don't think need to be left to AI, and especially at this stage. And they're moving forward no matter what, because for them, they don't care about the consequences. they you know, they don't care. Oh, you got wrongfully arrested. Oh, you know, you're being surveilled 24/7 or whatever. That's their goal. But for us on our end, I think we're not paying attention to a lot of this because of the conveniences that come with AI. So we're putting on blinders and not looking at some of the downsides, which are very big downsides because of the convenience factor, and also the well, what can I do? It's going to happen no matter what factor that so many people use as a reason to go along with most things. Well, I can't do anything about it, so I might as well just use it. What do you think about that?
Yeah, definitely. And the convenience factor is crazy how it plays on the human psyche. You know, all these carrots dangling around, and yeah, like you said, there's so much money backed up behind these things. It's just, it almost seems unstoppable. Like, oh, we can't go back or this and that. There's so much stuff invested and blah fucking blah. Like, man, fuck you, computer nerds. No one asked for this shit except for you, transhumanist idiots. You know, goddamn, like.
Right.
Right. So, something that's changing our lives, but also our physical makeup, if you will, of a research study. I think it was even MIT. Correct me if I'm wrong, but looking at brain scans, and there's like you know, you see, you know, the old school images of this is your brain on cocaine or whatever drug, and you see like these holes missing. Like, that's what your brain is on Chat GPT if you're on that shit for way too fucking long, you know?
Oh, I believe it. I believe it definitely has impacts, negative impacts on the brain and the spirit. When we, you know, bypass human connection for artificial connection, and not to say, you know, throw the whole thing out. That's not what I'm saying.
Right. Yeah,
but I'm saying we have to do things in a moral way, in a responsible way. And I feel like with AI and big tech, there is rooted in immorality. Like, literally the foundation of it is rooted in immorality. It's rooted in a system that they wanted to create to control. So anything that's built for the ultimate purpose of control is immoral to start. And I think that, you know, a lot of us are just kind of getting, you know, lost in the sauce and not recognizing these huge foundational problems with the way that we have implemented, not the technology itself, but the way in which we are using it and the way in which it's been implemented is, you know, a huge problem. And so I saw you put up some a few different messages. Did you want to chime in? Feel free.
Do I? Absolutely. What up, Derek?
Yeah, brother, please.
Okay. Well, the first thing I said, is it okay if you want me to pick one,
Go.
Cynthia, and then do the rest at the questions portion, or all three?
You go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay. So the first thing I said was towards the beginning when you first got on. I said I got to hear more about this almost negative labeling of sacred geometry and the relationship between the golden ratio, the Fibonacci spiral, these things, and the idea that they're distortions, incomplete in some way. All due respect as well, but I draw sacred geometry, and I've never heard anything like that before. So I'm just wondering, what can we look into? What kind of evidence is out there that we can look into to understand what you understand about that?
Can we go?
That was the first one.
Part at the end, since it's not related necessarily to AI directly.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. The other two was I said people don't recognize that nothing is free in the regular sense of the word free, and we see AI as a free secretary, right? A free clerical help, free researcher, a free creativity for us, free planning assistant, free fitness coach, but there's always a cost of some kind. And this is when y'all was talking about the codependency aspect that can pop up. And I say AI is the means of centralized culture control and centralized big data. But AI is the means for centralized mind control.
Yeah, and the data collection, because you're giving it data every time you make a request. You're giving it data about you. So it's also data collection as well. And like you said, they don't give anything for free. I remember the last big thing they gave for free were those jabs, I think. So they don't give you good stuff for free. And that we do need to wrap our minds around. So no, that's a great point that
Bars.
Nothing is for free.
Bars. Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah. So yeah,
and you killed it with the COVID jab.
Yeah, because when they start pushing stuff for free, that's when you need to start really investigating. Why is this free? Because that's not how they operate. That's not how they operate. They don't operate from altruistic motivation. They never have.
Millions or billions behind it all. Yeah. Right.
Exactly. That's my point there. So yeah, those are great points. Thanks, Soul. Yeah. So I want to talk about this too, because this is really a big issue, and it is heartbreaking. Some of the stories that I hear as far as what it's doing to people and our environment, as if our environment is not effed up enough. So what are some of the environmental impacts of AI?
Well, from what I've heard, and I really haven't delved deep into this, but apparently it consumes a shizer load of water.
Yes.
Just for doing a ChatGPT thing, like thousands of gallons for that? Like, really? What is going on? It just it doesn't calculate in my brain. And so, yeah, this is more for you to answer, because I'm not too familiar with this. Sorry.
Yeah. I mean, and we were talking about this a little bit before the podcast as far as some of the environmental effects. But yeah, it takes just a ton of water. I don't think if someone wants to I can't remember, I was looking at the stats for one just for even like one individual search. I can't remember exactly how much it was, but it's a significant amount of water. And we already know we are already facing a water crisis around the world. There's lots of areas that they already don't even have enough water to survive, period. And so think about if you're in that position, and then you have people that are using this much water just so they can have even more convenience. And you don't even have enough water to live. Just think about that. Mm-hmm. That's unconscionable. You know what I mean? So, and then also the pollution from the facilities is astronomical. And I was talking a little bit, like I said before, about just even the people that live in those areas, the health problems that it causes. They can't get any water pressure. It totally destroys the value of their home. So it's like you want to say, oh, well, why don't they just move or whatever? Because now their home has no value, because no one else wants to live next to that data center either. Who would want to live there? Their home virtually became valueless overnight. And these companies are not compensating these people. They are not relocating these people. They're not even admitting that they're doing anything wrong to them, even though they used to have water pressure and now they don't have any. They, can barely even, fill up a glass of water or take a shower or flush their toilets. So the impact is very tremendous. And I think we have to think about these things every time we use it. So, think about, is this important enough that I should use a technology that's causing this kind of environmental damage? And I think that's something we all have to start asking ourselves. I mean, I know sometimes we're using it, we probably don't even realize that we're using it, but because it's built into so many things now. But I mean, it's something that I feel like we have a moral responsibility to each other as, humanity, to care when something is impacting that many people this seriously. And it impacts us. Any detriment to the environment impacts all of us. We all living on planet Earth. And none of us finna jet off here no time soon. So we need to start acting like this is our only home, because right now it is our only home. And not to mention, Mother Earth is a conscious being. Do we not care about her? Is convenience become that important to us, or we just don't give a crap about anything or anyone? If it's convenient, bring it on. If it makes my life easier, bring it on. If I can make some money from it, bring it on.
Yeah. Can I have a follow-up that real quick?
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought somebody else was trying to say something.
Sean, do you want to pop in real quick?
Oh, Sean. Okay. I thought I heard a different voice. Yes.
Yeah, sorry. I didn't catch that. Sorry, Sean.
I was just going to pop in and say, I mean, right now, everything that you're hearing about AI, this is mostly just on the text-based interaction, going through just the browser window, ChatGPT or Anthropic, whoever your AI of choice is. What they're saying, I've read some numbers where they said when we start getting into people using it for massive video generation, which that's ramping up, and they start to get into motion, they say, like, if you were to put, create 4 balls, and then all of a sudden you wanted a video with 6 balls, for whatever reason, that change in power is a 4x change. And they didn't go beyond just that measurement, but we just start thinking about, right now we're still on the cusp. I mean, we're still trying to get AI narrowed down and more accurate. There's a lot of problems before we really scale out and to do other things. But, video's the hot topic that's coming up now. Everybody wants to do video editing and have AI just create video. And now, you're talking about whatever we think about as far as power consumption, that this is nothing. I mean, it's going to be off the charts. Pretty soon you're going to, I mean, we're already looking at where, Oracle, Microsoft, Chat or OpenAI, all these guys are building data centers, and they're talking about putting one nuclear reactor for just one data center is how much power they're projecting these things are going to require.
Wow.
Yeah. That's
incredible.
And I mean, you just Google, the number of companies that are doing AI and have open, open requirements to build a data center.
Yeah. I mean, this is ramping up, not ramping down. So, so I just checked on something. So it says that the AI uses vast and increasing amounts of water for data center cooling, with some projections estimating global consumption could reach 4.2 to 6.6 billion cubic meters by 2027. That's 2 years. And that was billions. 4 to 6 billion in just 2 years. And that's just the water impact. not to mention what Sean was talking about.
That's insane.
It's insane.
How
Like,
human
what are
evolution
we doing?
technology would be able to come up with something more efficient in all that, you know what I mean?
That's the thing. And I'm sure that they could, but they don't care. So we have to care. Because the controllers, they don't care. Clearly, they've never cared about the environment. Look around.
Even though they lip service and greenwash that environmentalism and shit.
Oh,
How
yeah.
ironic the AI side of things as well, right? Yeah.
Exactly. It's just kind of the same thing, or how they take all their private jets to the conferences about, you know, being responsible with energy, being green, but they all take a private jet. It's kind of the same mentality. They clearly don't care. You know, they're selling us a pack of lies and a pack of nonsense because it's all about their agenda. And like you said, their ultimate agenda is transhumanism. So they don't need a pristine environment if you're transhuman.
No.
You know? So these are all things. Did anybody else have anything that they wanted to mention about environmental impacts before I go to the next slide? The last question. No? Okay. All right. So.
One thing.
Yes.
On a super zoomed out bird's eye plane helicopter view, AI will also be the intellect used by the Cult of the Black Sun to plan the next, techno, like the things that we can't think of fast enough. It's gonna obviously be used to do certain analyses and planning and blueprinting for their next weapons against we the people. You know what I mean?
You just answered the next question. What are the dangers and moral implications of AI? And you're right. That's exactly what they're going to use it for. But yeah. I'm sure they already are using it for that. I'm sure. And you have to think, how easy would this be if we're interacting with AI every day and it's gathering all this information about us? How easy would it be to figure out, okay, this is how I would easily control these people or whatever they want to implement, because it has all of this information already.
Hate to tell you,
psychological profile.
Yeah,
right.
You're about 2 years late on that. China's been doing that, and they've actually moved beyond biometric, and they do what they call is a gate-based analysis, which based on recognition is the most accurate and the hardest to circumvent. And, they rolled it out nationwide 2 years ago. So, no idea how long it's been in development. And based on that, if you're familiar with China's social credit, like you get a parking ticket, all of a sudden you can no longer use the train for 30 days or whatever. Your one digital tracking affects every aspect of your life. It determines what movie you can see, what college you can go to, how far you can move from your house.
Right. No, and I had heard about that technology where it identifies you by your gait. Yes. Mm-hmm. And yeah, and I feel like people are, I don't know, they feel like when something is, people here, in the States, in the US, feel like when something's happening in another country that's so far away, oh, that can never happen here. Look at what's going on here right now in some of these cities, where it's really pretty much almost like martial law. And when I was telling people things like this, what happened is happening in other countries, it's going to happen here. Oh, no, that could never happen here. That'll never happen here.
Look at Canada. I don't know if you remember the big strike they had with all the truckers and farmers.
Yep, and they shut off all those people's bank accounts and everything else.
Yep. Didn't even know that was already implemented. I mean, that blew my mind. Yep. And I just found that out a few days ago.
Oh, yeah, because I during that phase, I was, posting a lot about those type of things. And I just try to get people to really wrap their minds around anything their agenda is not a United States agenda. Their agenda is a global agenda. So anything you see happening somewhere else eventually is going to come to you. It's going to find its way to you. It may take longer. You may be the last on the list. You may be the most maybe difficult population for them to control, but control you, they will try. And that's why it's so important for people to take a stance against these things, against this immorality, against this control system, because as soon as we start acquiescing and say yes to this, the digital ID and all this stuff, how do you to try to backtrack back out of that is damn near going to be impossible. So you have to stand and you have to get in front of it, not try to fix it from behind. And
you remember what Morpheus said?
Go ahead.
You remember the Matrix? What Morpheus said? He said, talking about the agents, they are guarding all the doors. They are holding all the keys. So eventually, somebody gonna have to fight them. You know what I mean?
Right.
It's we don't want the bloody revolution, as Mark Pasio used to say all the time. But it looks like that's how it's going to happen. Because what else besides tragedy is going to wake people up right now, when we're so entertained and comfortable in the most comfortable places and so helpless in the uncomfortable places? We are super comfortable.
Yes.
How else do we get to people?
Yes.
Changes of convenience.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, I absolutely agree with that. And that's why I focus so much of my time and energy on creating a new paradigm, because anything that you starve will die. If we starve their system, it will die. It has no choice but die. But it takes enough people to starve it out for it to die. But that's why I put so much of my energy into building a new paradigm, because there are totally other ways of living than how we live now. Yeah, it may not be as convenient, but it'll be moral and we will be free. And
you know what you're doing with that? You know what you're doing with that? You are moving at the speed of life. Remember those good old days? Like, everything's all meta, whatever the fuck. It's meta whack. You got like just breathe, everyone. Like, holy shit, people are so stuck in the rat race with the sad face and all that shit, right? But hey, there's alternatives, and yeah, just
there are
regulating your nervous system really helps out a lot, and all that stuff, and getting your fucking mind right and all these things, and not getting assimilated into the Borg. You guys get that Star Trek reference? You know, these alien cyborg people harassing the next the Federation or whatever, Captain Picard in the lot, or Deep Space Nine and all that. They fly around in a fucking cube, the Tesseract, right? God damn, like, it's just so obvious, the symbolism sometimes, and it's like, now it's in our face. What the hell are we gonna do?
Yeah.
Resistance is futile.
Yeah. What are we gonna do? That's the question of the day, and that's what everybody kind of has to grab a mirror and ask themselves: What are you willing to do to steer this ship in a different direction? And it all starts with that internal work and recognizing that we are literally one, and stop thinking that, oh, well, at least I'm doing better than them, or I'm still okay, so we're not going to worry about that. Whatever's happening to someone, you have to care like it's happening to you as well, because we are all connected. And just like with the earth, we are connected to the earth as well. So we have to start focusing on these connections, the human connection, the connection back to the earth. When we start building these connections within ourselves, that makes all the difference, because that's where we're gonna be able to open up our heart center and live in true care. We are able to not just know, but to act on what we know. Because a lot of people do know this stuff, but they're not gonna do anything. They'll never act, because that true care, their heart center is closed. That true care is not there. So I think that's the number one thing that has to happen before anything else is true care. We have to start acting like we care, not just saying that we care. We have to start acting like we care and living differently than how we live now.
No doubt. And yeah, going back to soul, that bird's eye view type of thing. Just look at the state of the world. Humanity has a choice. Choose, Mother Nature, who's under duress and a lot of stress due to a lot of technocratic static, as I like to call it. A lot more to it than that, or techno-monopolistic. It's not just a technocratic. We're not able to vote for this shit anyways. But
right, yeah, we don't get a vote.
But go and vote. What you're talking about, actions speak words. We can vote with our dollar. We can vote with our voice. We can vote with non-compliance as well. So, are we going to participate in this artificial side of things, or are we going to, return to nature and remember who the fuck we are? And because if we keep going on this AI timeline, we're disconnecting from nature and our fucking souls. Yeah. That's how I see that trajectory playing out.
Yes.
That's the fucking huge danger and implication of that shit. Yeah.
Yes. Sorry. No, you were talking. I'm sorry. I thought
I was finishing. I'm done. Yeah.
I spoke too. But no, I agree with you, especially with the timelines, and I do think these timelines are splitting. So people need to dig deep right now and figure out which timeline they want to be on, because the energy of this earth is shifting, and you have to be within a certain frequency to still be to exist in that timeline where this frequency of Mother Earth is changing. There's just no way around it. So people got to dig and figure out what future they want, for themselves, because the choice is ours. So we got to choose.
And like Soul just said, AI in the pharmakia, that's a concoction for disaster as well. Well, pharmaceutical AI prescriptions and whatever, it's such a slippery slope any way you look around it. Like, wow, like I haven't really considered that, but yeah, so like for sure.
Because the whole way that we approach medicine is already off, right? And so they program the AI from the get-go, as far as like, let's say, government clearance to certain brain stems of centralized AI. You get them to program what their answers are to the medical questions into the brain of the AI. And then it builds off of that, off of all of the NIH and approved and CDC approved and FDA approved results. I'm not going to say studies. I'm going to say results.
Yeah.
Right? Because they pay for the fucking result from the get go. Hey, make this result happen.
Yeah. There's no study. There's no.
Go make this result happen. So and figure it out. Here's all the money. Here's so much money. Oh my gosh. Just make this result happen. Here's millions and sometimes billions of dollars for that result that I need you to make happen in your study.
Right. So
anyway, so AI is gonna have their answers, and that's crazy as hell. Yeah,
and then you're putting it in AI's hands, and for those that still, participate heavily in Western medicine, I mean, it's bad enough. So imagine now, at least maybe you might run into a doctor that has a heart still and compassion and cares about their patients and maybe won't give you the worst of medicines or treatment. But if it's in the hands of AI, you can really hang it up. You can really forget it.
Yeah, you think about, you got the cancers, you got the, cancer treatment. I mean, you got the way that mothers are treated when they do hospital birth. You got the abortion stuff. You got the LGBT in medicine game. There's so many. Look, I'm just saying, the state-approved answers will probably be in the brainstem clearance, from the government in the centralized AI or the approved private AI company, whichever they're going to do, it doesn't matter, right? It's a way to centralize our, like I said, big data and culture control.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
That book.
I agree.
Prop. Respect.
Were there any other questions, comments, feedback at all from anyone? No? Okay. Well, this was a phenomenal conversation, and I thank you again, Derek, and thank you for everyone who joined live. Great commentary, great feedback, great questions. I want to invite you to the next podcast. And Sarah, are you still on?
Yes, I am.
Okay. Sarah Cross of Time Strider Radio will be my next guest, and we'll be talking about let what you consume be our medicine, because we always say let food be our medicine, but it's more than that. And she brought this up on another podcast, and I was like, that's a great topic. So she's going to come on and talk about it. But we have to think about everything we consume, from the perfume we put on to the lotion we put on to what we eat our food out of, everything, what we consume. These are all things that we are consuming. So we have to be mindful of everything we consume, because what we consume needs to be our medicine and not our source of illness. So that'll be on Wednesday, October 29th at 7 p.m. Hope you can join us for that. And as always, please visit the website at affirmlifedaily.com. Follow on social media at Affirm Life Daily. Your support is needed. So please like, share, subscribe, all the things, because I am trying to spread this message of truth and freedom and natural law, and I need your help to do that. Derek, please give us some closing words. You there, Derek?
That old flame that you once had sparked in the center of your chest. Well, I mean, the majority of folks, listening currently right now probably got that lit. But we have to tend to the fires and keep that creativity sparked and lit, and pass the torch as far as inspiration for others, for them to get that eye contact, the windows of the soul, to keep the constant reminders of what it really truly means to be human. Not depending on, technology, yet we're living in the paradoxical times, beyond belief still, because, we're all using technology to whatever degree to communicate and put out, content and all these things as well. So it's like, it almost feels like we're living in contradiction, yet just stay true to your soul, natural law, universal principles, hermetically sealed, if you will, and don't quit, no matter what we're up against, because we don't want to betray our humanity, our soul, our brothers and sisters out there, so.
Absolutely. Absolutely. That was a beautiful note to end on. Don't quit, because I know these, listening to all this can be like, dang, like what are we going to do? But don't quit, because there's just as much as there was all that out there, there's just as much love and beauty still out there too. There's just as much love and beauty still out there too. So do not quit. Do not be discouraged. Do not give up. Keep building on yourself. Keep opening up your heart center, because I firmly believe we can do this. We absolutely can. Thank you all so much for joining tonight. Infinite grace, love, and gratitude. And you all have a wonderful, wonderful night.
Love y'all.
Love you too.
Much love, everyone.